This gacha game that uses generative AI has made $4 million in the first few months it's been live. I have not been able to find any information on this game, nor heard anyone talk about it. But after my usual stroll in the revenue ranking list, this one stuck out quite well. It looks like a fully fledged manga series that tries to use the gacha mechanics to sustain its funding. But once you see the overwhelmingly predatory practices it uses, as well as how bare bones its gameplay system is, you'll have trouble finding arguments how it can even be considered a video game at all. Finding these weird gacha projects is what I live for, so I want to take a look at what exactly the hell is Paranoize, and how it managed to gain this amount of success with utilizing generative AI. So with these cash grab gacha games, it's easy to brush them aside as whale bait, where it does the bare minimum to design itself as a game as fun as it can be, but rather as a funnel to put as many booster packs, powerful gear, and limit break buffs behind paywalls as it can to capture whales. This one though is quite different. On top of having extremely basic gameplay features, it got away with using generative AI in its story presentation. So to get to the root of the mystery, I think we ought to start from the beginning. This video was brought to you by UGREEN and their newest limited edition fast charging collection. Unlike traditional portable chargers that resemble a black brick, this one comes with a bit of style. This kit is inspired by the new 5-star character Yao Guang from Honkai Star Rail, combining premium tech products with collectible visual appeal for desktop setups, travel, and everyday carry. Included in this box will be the MagFlow Air Magnetic Power Bank, an ultra-slim 15-watt wireless charger with a 10,000 mAh capacity able to charge an iPhone for around 2 full cycles, a pocket-sized 65-watt fast charger with a foldable plug, a UGREEN Find Track for Apple users to track missing phones or luggages, a retractable cable for flexibility, Yaoguang-themed merch such as an acrylic stand, tin badge, holographic card, and a pouch that can conveniently fit all of these accessories. If you need even more power, there's also the Nexo Pro Power Bank, which provides a 45-watt output able to charge 3 devices at the same time, with a smart display so you can track its battery status in real time. To see more information, check out the UGREEN and HSR series with a link below, as well as details on a gold collectible giveaway. Once again, thank you to UGREEN for sponsoring this video. In an absolute nutshell, Paranoize is a manga series where it attempts to fund itself through gacha elements. Just like a regular manga series, new chapters are periodically rolled out while new characters are released into the gacha pool. The benefit of this approach is that you can download and read the entire thing for free. On top of that, there's voice acting by actual seasoned voice actors, while the panels move by themselves, making it quite animated while elevating the normal reading experience, since you can now hear music, sound effects, and the character voices. There's actually no additional paywall to reading the next chapter. As soon as you finish one, you can begin the next. Although, you will be asked to clear the gameplay dungeon to a certain point before allowing to proceed. The gameplay is more or less supplementary if you want to engage with it at all. So, what's the problem here? Well, given that it's literally just a manga series, let's see how the story begins and where my concerns lie. The opening of the story introduces an extremely gory scene with this mysterious alien species invading the planet. It's so gory that it has to censor itself. Right off the bat, if it's not made clear already, what they have done is use static manga panels, then use AI to animate them. There are a lot of details that are inconsistent if you stop it frame by frame, and overall looks pretty jarring if you're paying close attention to the finer things. I'm not entirely sure if I'm allowed to show the panels in its entirety since it might be copyrighted. But I mean, this game is free to download, so anyone can legally experience this free of charge. In any case, while I do think the original static manga panels are hand-drawn, I am quite suspicious that they may have used AI to trace and refine those characters, who look pretty generic, might I add. I'm also not a manga critique channel, but given that the story is literally what this game is banking on to carry its financials, I do want to go through the first couple chapters and comment on what I think. If that first intro cutscene shocked you, you would not be alone. As most people know, among gacha games, there's a severe lack of stories and settings that go into the more mature and darker side. Most opt into the casual, light-hearted approach as it has mainstream appeal and can maximize a game's chances of succeeding with the broadest audience. While it's true that Paranoize immediately establishes itself with the audience it wishes to target, there are a few warnings I want to give regarding this. I have seen in the past where a piece of media tries to set up its premise as extremely dark, only for the tone to be lightened dramatically once the first couple episodes are over. The Goblin Slayer anime in 2018 was an example of this, where the ideas it explores are extremely dark in the first episode, only for the rest of the season to never remotely reach the same level. It tries to sell its mature content as a shock factor and not much else. I thought the same way for Paranoize. However, I've read past the first 10 or so chapters, and I can say that it does actually try keeping up its mature themes. In the present day of the story, the alien invasion has not subsided and there's a global pandemic. We're introduced to the main protagonist, Renji Miyamoto. Renji is a normal high schooler who really likes competing in kendo, which is Japanese sword fighting. But the only problem is that he's blind. Assisted by his childhood friend Yui and Tomoya, who is also the captain of the kendo club, he's able to live a relatively normal life while adjusting to his disability. Tragically, Renji's dad was killed by a mysterious alien species during a home invasion, but due to the lack of evidence and authorities refusing to believe in the testimony of a blind kid, his death was ruled as that is, until one day he hears a weird whirring noise, the same sound that he heard right before his dad died. Wasting no time to go investigate, he's met with a gruesome scene of an alien devouring a human, but he can't see it, only sensing that something is wrong. Suddenly, the alien burrows into him, but having felt nothing, he just resumes the day afterwards. On the next morning though, Renji mysteriously finds that he can see again, but not before a weird familiar that resembles a dark puff of smoke emerges, claiming that it's because of it that his sight is restored. But it's taken him as a host, meaning that it can take over his body at will. If one of them is hurt, then they'll both feel pain. They'll have to learn to coexist while concealing his true nature, kinda like that Parasite anime. Realizing that he can see the world now in true melodramatic anime writing fashion, he's taken aback, unexpectedly breaks into tears on how to adjust to this new world. Almost late to the kendo competition, Renji attempts to conceal his sight, since explaining that an alien parasite responsible for it is too outlandish. The opponent, still thinking that Renji is blind, believes that he can trick him by muffling his footsteps to hide his location. The dark puffball, whose name is Smokey, senses that its host is endangered due to his fast heart rate, briefly supercharges Renji's strength, which heavily injures his opponent, breaking the sword. Smokey explains that there are other parasites that have taken over human hosts and are devouring other humans in plain sight. It wouldn't take long before the first real fight begins, and it turns out this baddie of a substitute teacher at his school was luring students to their doom all along. Just like a typical anime fight scene with flashbacks of the power of friendship, Renji is able to turn the tables by shutting off the lights for the room, fighting on his terms since he's accustomed to living in a world of darkness. This is more or less the overall premise of the story. I won't get too much deeper into it, but you can see that the writing is as traditional as anime media gets. According to its own resources, new episodes are released every month, and if we were to assume that they have the same quality, then it's actually pretty astounding that they can keep to this schedule. My own theory is that there's some suggestion they could be using AI to trace some of the panels to quicken the process, while maintaining the budget to use voice actors and sound effects. The intro cutscene and some marketing material are the places where the AI use is quite blatant. Of course, the subject of AI usage can be subjective, although even discounting that topic entirely, the rest of the game is pretty bad. The gameplay of Paranoize is, well, if you ask me, there is no gameplay. So you can level the characters pulled from the gacha, raise their stats with a separate currency, and equip these memory cards that serve as gear, which also has like 3 different upgrade systems. Once you fill up a team, you can go into this endless dungeon to farm for materials and push deeper. There's literally no controls you can input, and during the boss fights, the sequence will go on its own. There are some requirements to reach a dungeon level before you're allowed to proceed reading the next chapter. So you'll be forced to interact with the gameplay portion. Although, if you really wanted, people have uploaded the entirety of chapters online if you just care about the story. To get the upgrade materials, you'll have to go into this base building mode to erect buildings to increase your income and manpower. The game doesn't have a stamina system, but instead uses passively generated resources that scale with player progression. It's fairly straightforward to lay out all the buildings, except the measurement for the amount of gold is in units of A. I have no clue what 200A means, but once you get enough, then it grows to B, and so on. The rest is just a matter of coming back every day to collect your resources and grow your town. Now, here's something that's pretty ridiculous. Every time you earn a reward, either from completing a chapter, reaching a milestone, or even completing your dailies, your reward is actually randomly selected from a pool. When I say every time you earn a reward, I really meant it. Literally everything given to you is random. I guess they just really wanted to embrace the gambling aspect of gacha games. Of course, to no one's surprise, there's also PvP. It's just auto-battling, so the player with the better stats will likely win. The gameplay is like 1 out of 10 because it really has nothing going for it. Not the presentation nor innovation. I don't expect many people playing this for the gameplay, so the best benefit of the doubt you can give it is that you can probably progress with the free characters given to you if you just want to engage with the story. The gacha system is also quite stingy, so I did some reading in the first week or so, and I actually only had enough for like 1, maybe 2 temples. The rate for an SSR character is 1%, while the rate up is 0.7%. This is literally Fate Grand Order odds, and you generally don't want to go there. What's the pity counter? This was a tough one to swallow. 500. You need to pull 500 times on the banner to guarantee the rate up. It does not carry over. This might just be the greediest gacha system I've seen if this can even be called a gacha game. I also find that the character designs to be quite generic, and I'm suspicious that AI might have been used in tracing some of the art. Well hey, on the bright side, there's a male character variant of the banner too, so now players of any orientation get to have the opportunity to pay hundreds of dollars to get AI anime characters. The cash shop isn't much better. Japanese gacha games are generally slightly behind the times when it comes to modern gacha expectations, so you'll be seeing a lot of pricey starter packs, battle passes, VIP levels, and other subscription boosts. There are quite a lot of them, as you can see. There's even a mission tab for specifically when you buy the gem top-ups. With high enough VIP levels, you get a permanent boost to material and XP acquisition, though I really don't see why that's necessary unless you want to compete in PvP. The monetization in Paranoize is an absolute cesspool. Not only does it have some of the stingiest rates, the amount of booster packs thrown your way is pretty wild. Paranoize is a clever experiment thought out by a group of manga artists to see if converting to a gacha formula will pay the bills of funding their project. While there are actual voice actors that bring the characters to life, they've clearly used elements of AI to quicken its creative process, pushing out more content while only needing to worry about writing new story. Though I have doubts if the story itself is original and wasn't assisted by AI in some way. The character designs are painfully generic, and the gameplay is as bare bones as an auto-battler can get. Despite all of this, it's clearly working. Since the topic of using AI in creative works can be subjective, one can make the argument that if AI wasn't used at all, this might just open up a new way for manga artists to fund their works. Now, regardless if AI is used or not, I do have a few problems with this approach. If, let's say, Paranoize takes off and becomes extremely popular, which judging by its current trajectory might just happen, then the writers will have less incentive to wrap up the story in a satisfactory way, and instead drag out the story to create more gacha characters since their business model is so successful. The gacha formula these days can be extremely lucrative, but also quite risky. There are plenty of projects that try to get in, but ultimately have been filtered out due to how many games are out there these days. If a game does manage to succeed, then it can pave the way for virtually unlimited profits, as demonstrated by the few giants that are still at the top. However, if it fails, then the game itself has to go under and will likely end up financially crippling the team that made it. The issue with making the main story the primary selling point of the game is that it banks on the story alone to make a profit, and in a live service environment, you run into the issue where a gacha game story just isn't designed to end. I can only count with the fingers on one hand of gacha games that have a concluded main story and still manages to stay afloat. When the story ends, it could create enough closure for the audience to make them feel that they've seen the entirety of the show, so it's time to leave. Not only that, you cut off the ability to create new characters, which is the entire business model for gacha games. To make it even worse for the audience, once a company gets a taste of massive success from a gacha game venture, there's much less incentive for them to work on anything else. I mean, why risk writing a new manga series where there's a lot of uncertainty if fans will enjoy it, when you can just keep writing Paranoize where you already have an established fanbase and enough funding that you can just keep coasting along while using AI to cut down the costs. Something to keep in mind is that the Japanese gacha player base tends to spend more money than players from other regions, except the JP gacha game industry isn't doing as hot as its neighbors. I can only imagine Paranoize as having captured a lightning in a bottle. It slapped every predatory practice on top of a decently presented manga series with voice acting. If you ask me, the story feels like it's leading up to be a power fantasy, which if you enjoyed something like Solo Leveling, you probably enjoy this too. Another warning I want to give is that the success of Paranoize may open up the way for copycats to try replicating this formula as well. Who's to say that the manga industry isn't going to start trying to franchise every single series and convert them to this model? Why stop at manga and not other media like anime? You get to legally watch a series for free with new episodes dropping every week or so, and all you have to do is engage with a bare-bones, non-functional gameplay system with cash-up deals that will cost you a limb. Among the sea of dead and buried gacha projects, Paranoize is the 1 in 1,000 where its outlandish idea actually worked. As much as I welcome new and upcoming artists wanting for their creative ideas to make waves in the market, I can't exactly say I condone this type of behavior. That being said, feel free to download and try it out if you're unconvinced, but I would personally try to drown out the gameplay and monetization elements. If you want to see more gacha-related content like this, subscribe to the channel. You can support for as little as $2 a month on Patreon. As always, thank you for watching, be sure to spend moderately, and have fun out there.